All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 465 of the Restoring Rapport podcast. This is a podcast for young believers who are pursuing the goal of marriage and family, trying to get married as young as possible in a healthy way, according to God's design. My name is Seth Hensley. I come on the show twice a week, every week on Thursday and Sunday, to discuss not only the benefits of getting married young, but I try to equip and encourage you in your pursuit of those goals. Today, we're going to be reviewing a video by Savanna Stone, who is somebody that I had never seen on social media before, but my wife had seen her because when I pulled this video up, she recognized her from, I think it was either TikTok or Instagram or something. So she's actually behind me right now watching this video with me and listening to it, but she doesn't want to be on the podcast because she doesn't either. I just don't think she likes it. So, but she wanted to watch this video with me. So we're gonna watch this together, and then I'm gonna give you my reaction, and you might hear her in the background laughing or something like that. I know it's really funny, but that's the setup we've got going today.
I got married very young. I was 18. It was by choice, okay? Everyone asked me that. Actually, the last time I went to the doctor was right after I got married. And one of the nurse practitioners was asking me my age. And like on every single paperwork you fill out for the doctor, you have to check off if you're single or married. And I'm 18. And she noticed that I checked off that I was married. And this woman literally asked me if it was a choice. And I'm like, okay, I know I'm tan with dark hair, but I was born here. I'm white. Yes, it was a choice. Yes, I'm very happy. Yes, I'm madly in love with my husband. And this interaction got me thinking about the stigma that comes with getting married very young. When I first started this whole social media thing and posting on TikTok, it was around this time last year, like early spring. And I was just having fun at the time. I had no plan of what exactly I was going to do with social media. And I posted a video getting ready, doing my makeup, literally just talking about my marriage story, obviously, because I have nothing else going for me. But we do have a cool story. We got engaged, married, and moved within the same week. I think it's pretty badass. So I post about it. And I'm like, this is cute and different and unique. And a few hours goes by and the video's doing well. Did not expect it. My TikTok at the time was for my pageant and modeling friends, because when you model and compete in pageants, all of your friends are kind of scattered across the country. So that's kind of how we would stay in touch. But a few hours later, I'm checking the comments and they're horrid. They're like, he will cheat on you. He groomed you. Can't wait to see the divorce in 5 years. Are you okay? And these comments were mainly coming from middle-aged white women. And I've now come to find that the users of TikTok are the same women that would pick up a People magazine at like a Ralph's in the checkout line. You know how when you're checking out and it's like Blake Lively on the front cover talking about her divorce and the entire magazine is just covered in celebrity drama? Like that's what these women enjoy doing. So I've realized that TikTok specifically is full of miserable middle-aged women. But at the same time, I was like, let's keep going. Let's keep posting about it. Let me actually share my opinions on getting married young in society and how a wife should treat her husband. And
okay, so let's stop. Let's stop. So she started off talking about the stigma around getting married young, which that is for sure a real thing. At least according to my personal experience, it is. I mean, my wife and I, when we got married, I think the general reaction was people thought we were pregnant out of wedlock. Because my sister still has yet to tell me who asked this question. But evidently there were people asking her if Lainey and I were pregnant, and if that's why we were getting married so quickly. Because for those of you who don't know, we did have a very quick engagement and very quick marriage. I mean, this is the way I tell it. We did not have a 6-month dating anniversary before we got married. So we got married before we hit our 6-month dating anniversary, and that included our less than 2-month engagement. And I actually think that was too long. And so that's a very unpopular opinion to have today. People think you're crazy for A, getting married young, and B, getting married that quickly. They think that you can't find out all the information you need to find out in order to marry somebody within that time. But I think it's totally possible if you're asking the right questions. And in fact, I think it's a healthier way to become engaged and get married rather than the comparatively slow ways that other people do it, have 4-year engagements, 6-year dating journeys. I think those are really not, I just don't see the point, honestly, because I want to spend as much of my life as possible with my partner. She felt the same. And so why were we waiting? There was no, and especially as young believers, there was no scriptural reason to wait. In fact, Paul talks about it being better to marry than to burn with passion. In 1 Corinthians chapter 7, I think verse 9. And so if it's just going to be harder if you're a believer, it's going to be harder for you to go, long periods without having sexual interactions with somebody. And, if you're, dating for 6 years, 4 years, whatever amount of years, than it would be if you just meet somebody that you really find attractive and that has your worldview and values and is moving the same direction as you and is aligned on core fundamental issues with you and wants to have children, wants to get married. They can stick around. They find you physically attractive. If you find somebody like that, then once you've got those questions out of the way, I'm like, man, it's better to just get married than it is to just wait, for an undefined amount of time, kind of wasting time that you could have together is how I look at it. And I think it's more, again, conducive to a healthy sexual lifestyle, again, because fornication is described as wrong in scripture. And so, I just those are just some overall reasons we did it. We had a very short, like I met her, I think in September of 22, and then let's see here, we didn't talk for a long time, and then we went on our first date in like December of 22. So we met in September, went on our first date in December. We're dating January 17th, engaged May 14th, and then married July 13th. So very, very fast. Like literally, the romantic part was less than 6 months, and we were, from dating to married in that time. And I had people in that time, like I said, they literally thought we were pregnant. That's the that's the reason people thought we were pregnant, which is amazing how people cannot listen to you. Because like I had only talked about why I wanted to get married young on the internet for 4 years and made like 300 podcasts about it, and still people were confused, evidently, about why I wanted to get married young. Which either A, tells me that nobody was watching, nobody was listening, or B, tells me that people are totally ignoring the reasons I said I wanted to get married and just projecting their own reasons for getting married young onto me. Either way, I was very disturbed. I mean, like, guys, this is my like life story, is like why this is important, why this is scriptural, why this is a good idea. And for people to immediately jump to the conclusions that we were pregnant and that's why we got married young, I just thought was rather shocking. Now, nobody said anything as crazy as they did to this lady, to us. I did have some people, trying to tell me. Actually, I did have people explicitly say, hey, for us it was better for us to wait and not get married. And I was like, okay, I mean, whatever. I totally disagree with you. I think that's a terrible idea. We don't have the same values. We don't have the same moral compass. I don't think you're not going even for the same kind of relationship I'm going for. You're not trying to spend more of your time with your partner. You're trying to spend less. But they didn't say that specifically in relation to Lainey. They just told me that, as I was, from 18 to 21 ish, which I got married at like, I think it was 23. I got married at 23. No way. I got married at 24. Something like that. But the point is, leading up to that, they basically were kind of trying to dissuade me against it. And again, it's amazing how you can explain so meticulously to people the reasons why you think getting married young is a good idea, and also why you want to do it, and they still don't understand. So I do understand how Savanna's feeling here. There is definitely a stigma around it. Otherwise, people would never have told me those things. Like, they would go out of their way to give me unsolicited advice regarding this issue that I have studied in detail and literally devoted my free time to. Like, almost like not a significant fraction of my free time was devoted to studying this issue and thinking about this issue. And for people to give me unsolicited advice against it, when they frankly had just not put in as much thought or as much effort in understanding it, or even listened to why I wanted to get married young, was a little bit off-putting to me. So I do understand how she's feeling here and how that would be a little upsetting, but let's continue.
And my whole point in sharing this story, though, is because I get DMs probably daily of 18, 19, 20-year-old women who have found their person, but they're terrified of what others think if they were to get married that young. Sometimes it's, hey, I want to drop out of college and get married. Or sometimes it's, hey, we don't really have the financial resources to do this right now, but we want to build a life together. And my advice is always that there is going to be multiple paths you have to choose from at various points in your life. And when you spend time in solitude, you're able to better understand what you want out of this life. If you're constantly surrounded by noise and chaos, it's going to be very hard to do so. which is why I believe so many
Yeah.
women end up in marriages they hate, jobs they hate, and around friends that do not lift them up. So, what does that look like? What does spending time in solitude look like? It can be not going on your phone first thing in the morning and
Yeah.
grabbing a notebook and a pen to write instead. It can be going for a walk outside with no music, no podcast, no phone. Something that I do now, which I realize is a privilege and a blessing. Actually, no, forget privilege. I've worked my ass off for it.
Okay, let's pause her again here. I'm starting to see her personality come through here. She's very assertive. She's very assertive in the way she talks, but I do want to just highlight something and show you a Bible verse that talks about the fear of man, okay? Because it sounds like the people she was describing there who were afraid to get married because of what other people would think are a little bit ensnared in this, okay? Proverbs 29:25 says, "The fear of man brings a snare, but one who trusts the Lord will be protected." Proverbs 5 also talks about delighting in the wife of your youth, not waiting to get, not delighting in the wife of your aged self. This implying, of course, that it is not only a good idea to delight in somebody that, I mean, you're clearly physiologically set up to have this relationship, um, early in life, but to delight in that early is a good thing. It's scripturally described as a good thing. And so, yeah, I just think that, I don't know, that to not get married because you're afraid of what other people would think, it's like you're passing up something amazing because of just nothing but the fear of man. So the fear of man is keeping you from, doing things that God has designed you to do, which is just a crazy dangerous situation to find yourself in. I don't think you should make a decision about whether or not to get married based on how other people perceive you or what they think about you. That has literally that should have no pull in this decision. This is a matter of purpose. God has either intended you for this or not intended you for this, and for you to let the fear of man to get in the way, I think is just robbing you of a truly abundant life that God has for you. So yeah, let's continue with the Savanna video. This is good so far.
Is Noah and I will randomly book a trip every 4 to 6 weeks, usually in the middle of the week, to just go spend time in solitude and away from our typical environment. We literally just got back from Malibu yesterday. There was a couple decisions I needed to make, but I couldn't seem to clear my head here. So I just turned off my phone for most of the week and allowed myself to think. And when you spend that time in solitude and figure out what you really want out of this life, you're then able to make that rational decision without letting the opinions of others sway you. If I was not grounded in who I am and in my marriage, if I did not feel confident in both Noah and I, do you know how easy it would be to let social media sway the way I view myself and my husband? I literally see it all the time. To influencers, they're so happy in their marriage, but then they blow up on social media and everything changes. Because every single outside influence, including something as silly as social media, will influence you if you allow it to. So
I think might be something that girls have a little bit of a harder time with than boys. Not that boys are amazing. We have a harder time with other things, but I think the fear of man, or not even the fear of man, but perhaps it's the just trying to be perfect and measuring themselves against online standards of beauty and what the good life is something that girls really fall prey to a lot. And I do understand how that's kind of hard for them, I think, because there's this okay, I haven't read the book, but there's this book John Eldredge wrote the Man book called Wild at Heart, I think is what it's called. And then Stacey Eldredge, or maybe John, I don't know who, anyway, him and his wife somehow collaborated here to create this husband-wife series, or man-woman, I should say, book series about some core principles that men really need, and kind of that drives their life, some core purposes, you might say, some really deeply ingrained purposes that men have and that women have. And one of the ones they gave for women that I found really interesting was women really have this desire, this purpose, this innate drive to bring beauty to the world. And so they're very concerned about appearances, not necessarily in a bad way, but they're just wanting to make their environment more beautiful this is why they put a lot of effort, I think, into their appearance, or one of the reasons. I'm not trying to like dumb down the psychology of why this happens or anything, but I think personally, this is one reason. Have you guys noticed this? Women are much more concerned with looking with aesthetics, with looking a certain way, making environments a certain way. being really concerned with decorations, that kind of thing. They're really concerned with bringing beauty to their environment, which I think he has a great point there that it is basically kind of scriptural. Um, that you basically need to the women are kind of designed to bring beauty to their environment. So the trap for them then becomes when they go online on social media and they start comparing how they're bringing beauty to how other people are bringing beauty to the world, and it really makes them feel bad if they're not meeting a certain standard that is perceived by them online. I think is where they're really feeling like, and then they're feeling like they're not good enough or not something, not like I don't know, not ready or not able to help to the extent that other people aren't. It bothers them. So I do see what she's saying there too.
When it comes to something like getting married young, I tell every single woman to take this time in solitude and, most importantly, only care about the opinion of your future husband. If you know this is the man you are going to spend the rest of your life with, his opinion is the only one you should care about. Now, at the beginning of dating, before engagement, it is important that you have some approval from family members and friends. And of course, this is case dependent because everyone has a different relationship with their parents. But if you have a relationship with them and they do not approve of this guy at all, that most definitely increases your chances for divorce.
Well, okay, pause. Okay, uh, my parents were all on board with the idea of me getting married as soon as possible because they had actually listened to my reasons for doing so and were in complete agreement with that decision. And there were actually consequences I was having for not getting married early enough that they were aware of as well. So they were in no way trying to stop me from getting married at the age that I did. But I do see her point about having parental approval for your mate selection, which is kind of important. I do think that the people who know you best in your life do have a lot of wisdom when it comes to, you know, putting their seal, their blessing, their seal of approval on that union, that potential union. That does mean something. So I'm not saying you should just get married to anybody regardless of what your family thinks if you have a good connection with your family. But what I am saying is that if people are not wanting you to get married young and you have explained the reasons which make that appealing and a wise decision on multiple fronts to them, then perhaps what's the issue? Perhaps they have a different definition of the good life than you do. They have a different definition of a scriptural obedience than you do, and that might not be somebody that you need to take advice from. And I know that this is a case by case basis here. I'm not telling you to ignore your parents or not listen to your parents or anything like that. What am I telling you to do? I'm telling you to use wisdom here, and just be aware that there are really good reasons for getting married young. Let me just highlight a few of them. You get to spend more of your life together rather than less. It's more conducive to a healthy sexual lifestyle because you're not tempted by fornication for like 7 years before you finally end up getting married. You go through the hard things of life together rather than separate. And instead of trying to smash two fully developed lives together at the age of 30, which is the national average age of first marriage in this country today, you start early and build one life together while both of your lives are still malleable. And I think that is a much more conducive way to enter the good life through marriage than, you know, trying to basically integrate two fully developed lives together at, you know, in your 30s. And of course people use the financial, you know, arguments for postponing marriage. You're not financially ready. At which points I'm like, how are you saying it's a bad financial decision to double your income, which is what you can literally do when you get married young, because, and if you don't have children, because both of you are able to work for a little bit until you have children in order to get an insane savings. At least that's how me and my wife, that's the story of me and my wife. We were able to, because we got married younger rather than older, and we didn't try to buy our own houses separately, like, and try to get our own cars separately and everything and our own big purchase separately. We just merged incomes young, had twice as much as we would normally have, and made decisions together rather than separate. So we had two sources of wisdom instead of one, not even counting scripture and mentors and all that, to guide our decisions. And how is that a bad financial move? People will throw out the experiential argument saying you need to live your life more, you need to enjoy things, you need to live it up, basically. You need to have fun as a single person, which to me, they never really define what they mean by that when I press them on that. But usually what they mean is just sexual experimentation and frivolity and promiscuity, which are not values that I have and not things that I think are fun. I think those things are actually devastating and detrimental to your future healthy sexual life that you're going to have when you get married. And so those are not things that I'm interested in, pursuing at all. And so for people that, and then sometimes they'll throw out what else? The maturity argument. They'll throw out the maturity argument. You're not ready to get married, as if maturity is an age thing, which it is not. I know people who are 50 who are not mature, and I know people who are 18 who are ready to get married. And so you can't just throw out these things as reasons not to get married. I don't think they make any sense. So if you've explained all those arguments to people and talked about I've addressed them in other places. If you want to go back and listen to more detailed arguments for why getting married young is a good idea, then you can go back and do it there. But I tried to give you a little, version of brevity quickly there in like 2 minutes. I hope that helped. But yeah, I don't think you need to be. I like how she said that you should be concerned with what your spouse thinks about this decision and not really what other people think about this decision. I do kind of agree with that. Not that, again, you should be, not that your parents' approval doesn't mean anything and your parents' blessing doesn't mean anything. That's not what I'm saying, especially if you have a good relationship with them. But again, that needs to be the blessing of the person and not the blessing of your decision to get married young, because that can be a good informed decision with a million benefits that people should be aware of if you've been articulate. And so just be articulate with them, tell them the benefits. If they're still not listening to you, they have a different definition of the good life according to Scripture. And so maybe they're not somebody you should listen to on that front. But yeah, let's continue to see what she says here.
But when it comes down to, hey, everyone loves this guy, we want to get married, we're just young and don't have it all figured out, but we want to anyways, this is when it is only his opinion that matters. Because even if your family and friends like the guy, they like him, they're cool with him, they think you guys should get married at some point, everyone kind of squirms when you say you're getting married as an 18, 19-year-old. They just do. They'd rather you go to college and give it out for free in Phi Kappa Alpha. Like, think about it.
Like that's what I actually think people are wanting. That's what I think people are wanting. People are wanting you to be promiscuous in college, and that's why they tell you to, don't you want to have fun? Don't you? And what I wanted to say is, do you think there's anything more fun about my single life than there is about my married life? Because there's no contest. I had a good single life, but I was miserable comparatively. There is no joy I have ever experienced like living with my wife. So good luck trying to convince me that it's more fun to go sleep with a million people than it is to have the best wife in the world to go to sleep next to every night. Good luck, man. It's not going to work. And so I don't, when people say live it up, have fun instead of getting married young, I'm like, what? Okay, define that. What do you mean? And also, do you think it's more fun to be single than to be married? Because that tells me you have a bad marriage, because my marriage is way more fun than anything I ever did in my single life. Okay, so that just completely falls on its face as an argument for postponing marriage. I do not understand why people continuously bring that up. And especially when they mask it, it seems like deception to me. It seems like they're not being honest with you, because when they say, hey, live it up, have fun, enjoy your college experience, get to know other people, what does that mean? What does that mean? Are you implying that other people are better partners than my wife, or that I could have more fun with them than my wife in any way, whether sexual or no? Because you're wrong on all fronts. What? And also, do you think it's a good idea to sleep around? Is that what you're saying even? If you are saying that, why not just say sleep around? Don't say have fun, enjoy your college experience. Dude, I hated college. It was a bunch of homework and assignments that had nothing to do with the actual field that I wanted to go into. So like what was fun about that exactly? Stressing out about making finals? So like what was fun about that? I would infinitely rather go through that with a partner who has my best interests at heart, who I love, and have a good, healthy, scriptural, sexual connection with, than somebody that I'm just, with for the night. Like, what? I don't understand that. So I completely agree with her here. I think that's what people are suggesting, even though they mask it behind other words. That's really what they're getting at.
There's some of the comments I got. It was like, don't you want to have fun? Don't you want to go to college and experience life?
There it is.
Why do we claim that experiencing life means you have to be single?
Same one I got.
A part of having fun.
Yeah.
Way more fun with my husband than I ever would by myself.
100%. Same.
so unique and beautiful about starting from the bottom with the love of your life and building together.
Exactly.
Now, what has happened in
Yeah.
society is we have told both men and women that they need to build separate lives before
Yes.
somehow merging the two
Yep.
together. But two separate lives do not easily merge. Marriage used to
Correct.
be the starting point.
Correct.
Now we've said it ruins success.
Okay, in 1960, the average age of first marriage for women was 20 years old, and the average age of marriage for a first marriage, I should say, for both of these for men was 23. Today, fast forward to the 2026 timeframe, the national average age of first marriage is 27 for men or for women, and the national average age of first marriage for men is 29 to 30 years old. So we have postponed marriage about 7 years further into the future than we did in 1960, and in 1970, I think it was around the same. So I should say 1970, 1980s when it started to go down with the rise of feminism and the invention of the birth control pill and the so-called sexual liberation, meaning we can do whatever we want sexually and have no consequences of children, which, by the way, is not true. There are emotional consequences, there are physical consequences, all that. We can get into that later. But the point is, we're getting married later now than we ever have. We're trying to merge two lives together that are already developed instead of, again, creating marriage as the starting point, which I would say is the more wise route and just produces the better fruit.
Thing is, on average, married couples earn 30% more than unmarried individuals.
Yeah.
And not because we're combining two incomes now, but it also applies if just
well,
one
it's
of them-
also it also that is true, but it's also because married men who are like let's look at a single income household that the man is the provider and the woman is the homemaker. The man is a lot more motivated to make a little bit more money there because he has his family to think of and not just himself. Like, I can fund my own hobbies on a McDonald's wage. I cannot fund a family provision on a McDonald's wage. So I'm a little bit more motivated to do harder things to make more money than I am if I'm a single dude. Because if I'm a single dude, I'm only thinking about myself. That's all I'm thinking about. I'm just thinking about my personal experience. Just speaking for me personally, this is how I was as a single dude. If I were not marriage minded, I would only be thinking about making enough money to fund the next hobby that I wanted to have. I would not be thinking about investing in a home. I would not be thinking about getting a car that's good enough to transport my wife and child. I would not be thinking about my wife and child's financial security and being able to spend money to do experiences for them that are enjoyable or go on vacations or anything like that. I would be thinking, how little can I work and get enough money to do what I actually want to do? And I'm not trying to make myself sound lazy. I'm just saying that's how men are who are single and don't have people to work for and provide for. They're not as motivated to do those hard things because there's no incentive. They don't have a wife, which is the ultimate incentive. And so that's another reason that I think married houses have more income. And not just when they have a dual income, but when there's only a single income earner, they still usually have higher incomes. In fact, while she's talking, I'll pull up a statistic for you by Brad Wilcox that he wrote a book called, I've told you this a million times, but it is called, what is it called? Get Married, Why Americans Must Defy the Elites, Forge Strong Families, and Save Civilization. And in that book, he has a great PDF that I'll pull up for you in a second.
Is working, or if they run a business together. Because when you have the right person in your corner, you will exponentially grow in every single area of your life. Noah and I basically had nothing when we first got married. I was starting a new business in a new city. He was just starting a new career. I moved straight out of my parents' house into our new apartment. On paper, anyone would have said, that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
You're going to struggle unnecessarily. Why not just
Yeah.
move in together to see if you're compatible? But the thing is if we would have moved in together, we would have had the same struggles just as individuals instead of as a married couple.
Yep.
I also think
And also you're having those same struggles as individuals instead of a married couple with a partner who you don't know is as likely to stick around with you as a married person. Because if you think the risk of divorce is high, you should see the risk of living with somebody who's never told you they're going to be with you forever. Guys, just think about that for a second. Okay, we don't have a 50% divorce rate in this country. That is false. It's lower than that, and it's never hit 50%. That was a projection that was done in the 70s that never turned out to be true. But it's still higher than it should be, especially when you look at non-Christian families with non-traditional values. But if you think the risk of divorce is high for those people, you should see the risk of shacking up with somebody or cohabiting with somebody who has made no indication to you, why either verbal or with their actions, that they will be with you forever. Crazy, guys. Crazy. Like, just think about that for a second. We all know divorces that have happened, But we all know a billion more breakups that have happened, okay? Because there's less consequences for a breakup than there are for a divorce. And so people are less likely to enter marriage if they want a backdoor out. This is not rocket science, guys. Somebody who enters a marriage is less likely to leave than somebody who is cohabiting or shacking up with you. It is just a fact, because there are going to be less consequences on their head should they withdraw from the union than there would be if they chose to sign the document with you. Okay, that is a fact. Let's move on to the marriage income thing, though, that she talked about a second ago. This is the, let me see if I can just, in fact, I'm going to just zoom in on it. I bet this would make it easier for you to see. Yeah. Okay, so the flying solo myth, marriage is of no benefit to men and women today. That is the narrative that a lot of people have. This is table 3.1. By their 30s, men and women have married men and women have the largest incomes. You can see the median household income by relationship status here. If you are, and again, this is according to the National Social Survey, or the National Longitudinal Survey of Youth in 1997. And these people were surveyed the ages 32 from 38 from 2017 to 2018. So this is a recent survey. And the source is the National Longitudinal Survey of Youth from 19. So this is an old study, a recent survey. Okay, the married people, the men have a median household income of $95,000. The married women, have a median household income of $90,000. The cohabiting median household income for men, $68,000. And cohabiting women have a median income of $67,000. And then the cohabiting single men, look at this, drops all the way down to $42,000. And the single women drops all the way down to $38,000. Guys, that's a $50,000 drop for both men and women. And the only change there is that some of them aren't married and some of them are. Guys, that's actually crazy. Do you see that? How are we still saying that marriage is not a financial benefit to people? Are we reading the data, or are we just repeating random claims that have been made on the internet by people who have no idea what the empirical evidence suggests? They're just repeating anecdotal evidence based on their own poor experiences with marriage, or the marriages that they've seen other people do poorly. That's all that's happening here. The facts are that marriage makes you more wealthy, and that marriage produces higher incomes than singlehood or cohabitation. That is what the data says. Okay. So she's 100% right there. So far, I haven't really disagreed with her on much. Let's continue to see what else she says here, though, because I'm curious and I've enjoyed this so far.
Something really dystopian about a man and woman splitting rent. It's kind of gay. If you're a man and you ask your girlfriend to Venmo you for rent, you're gay. I'm sorry. It's different when you're married and you have the same bank account and just the guy's paying the bills and the woman doesn't even know how much the rent or the mortgage is. But anyways, everything on paper would look like a big no. But the thing is, you're not supposed to have it all figured out before you get married.
True.
You figure it out by getting married and going through it.
True.
You can't have something figured out without going through it.
Yes.
Very much
true.
Still figuring it out. We're very young.
Yeah.
We're still
guys. I studied marriage and studied and there were still things that I learned when I got married. It's not like you do have to get married in order to start practicing being good at marriage. I mean, you can practice in the sense of practice other kinds of relationships, practice laying down your life for your family and your friends and all that, but it's a different standard. It's a higher standard when you get married. So, and why not start getting better at it early and practicing it early? It's the 10,000 hours principle. Okay. If you want to be good at something, you can be a master of something by putting in 10,000 hours or whatever random number it is. Maybe it's not 10,000 hours. Maybe it's something else. If you put so many hours into something, you're going to be way better than somebody who does not put those hours in, those reps in. So if you want to be good at marriage, don't postpone even starting until late in life. Start early so you get those reps in, get that practice in, get that, those, endeavors in early. And you can continue practicing them into later life so that by the time you get to your later life, you have a perfect, awesome marriage. Okay. I mean, I guess there's no such thing as a perfect marriage, but you have a really good marriage.
Much in the building season, but you absolutely do not figure it out by just waiting for the feeling of being ready. A lot of people think there is that feeling of, oh, I finally feel ready to do this. And once I have that feeling, then I'll do it. But you never have that feeling because there's always something else that could happen to make it the perfect timing.
True.
Growing up, it was never my plan to get married at 18. That was not something that I thought about in my
childhood.
childhood.
That was my plan.
In fact, I actually fully relate to young women who say they never want to get married. I understand why
What?
people in society say they don't want marriage because there's really no great examples of marriage. All the
No,
movies.
what? No, 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 no. Stop, stop. What do you mean? Okay, there's no public great examples of marriage made. Well, there are even. I think Hugh Jackman has been married to his wife for I don't know how long. I'll Google it for you in a minute. But there are a few public good examples. But let's talk about private good. There are people all around you with great marriages. Okay, because people that are in marriage usually report being very happy. Again, I'll pull up a source for you in a minute based on the National Social Survey conducted from I can't even remember what years, but I'll pull it up for you in a second. It's in Brad Wilcox's book. He's a professor of sociology at the University of Virginia. I'm not making this crap up, but married people do report usually being very, very happy. Okay, especially when you compare them to single people who do not report being that happy. Okay, if I remember right, I'll pull the study up for you in a second. But there are lots of examples of good marriages. I know tons and tons of good marriages in my life. So if you don't know any, maybe you're just operating in the wrong circles and you need to get out and find other circles where people have better marriages. I mean, there's no yeah, that's definitely what's going on there. There are good marriages out there. There are a lot of them. There are a lot of great examples of good marriages. Okay, I know I have lots of mentors who are way older than me who have awesome marriages. Okay, there are lots of prime examples of great marriages in the world today. You can't just say that claim is based on a poor sample source, a poor focus group. It's just too small. You're either in the wrong area or with the wrong crowd or something, because there are lots of good marriages out there.
Suck. All the shows suck. Every celebrity cheats and gets divorced. You grew up on Call Her Daddy and Sex in the City. Like, of course, we don't think of marriage as this beautiful, wholesome thing. And then many of us didn't grow up with the best examples either. But it is our job to not repeat that cycle in our own marriages and families. And I want to be
Okay. Let me pause here and pull up the source for you. Okay, here's the source I told you I'd pull up. This is the figure 1.1. Marriage predicts happiness better than education, work, and money. Okay. So this is based on adults ages 18 to 55. Higher income refers to family income of equal to or more than 60,000 a year. Those in very happy marriages compared with those who are in unmarried or in less than very happy marriages. Each model controls for race, gender, and age. Source: General Social Survey 2014 to 2018. Okay, so here's the source. Your odds of being very happy increase by 64% if you have a college degree. Your odds of being very happy increase by 88% if you have higher income, 145% if you're very satisfied with work, 151% just by being married, and 545% if you're in a self-defined very happy marriage. Wow. It's almost like marriage does make you happier. Like, what? Look at this, guys. This is not even a very described as a very happy marriage, and it's still 151% more likely to make you happy. Okay, that's more than even the being very satisfied with work or higher income or a college degree. Okay, and then the 545% more likely to make you happy if you're in a self-defined very happy marriage is just, I mean, if you have a happy marriage is the pinnacle. Okay, it is the pinnacle. And I would say the reason it's the pinnacle is that's what God's designed 90% of the people in this world for. Probably more like 95, 99. I'd say you got 1 out of 100 every people or so that is capable of living a happy life while single. Like Paul, for example, in the New Testament. Most people are not like that. Most people are not like that. Okay, most people actually need a marriage to have a very happy, abundant life. Okay, and that's just how God's designed it. There's no question.
Extremely reverent in how I speak about my parents and my childhood because I have the utmost respect for them. They also listen to the show. They gave me an amazing childhood. I never felt like I went without. And specifically, my mom was such a wonderful example to me because she has a very successful career. But she told me my entire childhood that she chose entrepreneurship because she knew when she had kids, it was going to be the most flexible career in which she could work from home and also be with us as kids. And she never missed a game, a pageant, traveled to all my modeling gigs with me when I was a teenager, dropped us off at every school event, picked us up from school every single day, and still was successful and had her own hobbies.
Guess what? But that was very hard. Okay. And guess what enables you to do that without the hardship? Having a man to provide and create money and create value so that you don't have to as a wife. Okay. And then people will slam me on the internet for saying that you're trying to keep women in the kitchen. It's like, okay, that's a bit of a jump. Did you hear what I just said? Aren't you all for maternity leave? I just said I am in favor of an 18-year paid maternity leave sponsored by marriage through your husband. How are you complaining about that? Like, I'm not being extreme here. I am saying that it works. and it creates a less of a strain on women to have a man who's there to provide for them. Okay? It creates less of a strain. That is common sense. It's just like trying to do everything solo. And it doesn't matter man or woman, by the way. If you're trying to run a home, raise children, and make money and create an income all at the same time by yourself, it doesn't matter if you're a man or woman, a single father or a single mother. That is hard. And it's harder than it would be if you had a partner who could help you manage that load. This is not rocket science, I don't think. I'm not saying anything outlandish. This is common sense. This should not rub anybody's feathers the wrong way. But this is true. What she said is 100% true. Okay, and you might be like, okay, it's true. Why say it? Why would I? That is something that has made my life so much easier, having a partner. Why would I not encourage the next guy to do that? Like if I weigh the decisions of what has and has not made my life easier, this is one that's pretty close to the top. Having a partner to help me through the life's challenges without trying to do everything myself. Hello? That's an incredibly important thing to tell the younger generation who's potentially trying to figure out whether or not they're going to enter these adult commitments like a job and a house payment and children alone or with someone. I mean, come on, guys. That's incredibly important for them to know. Yeah.
But I cannot lie. Everyone in my family is divorced besides my parents. Their parents are divorced. All of their siblings have been divorced. And so they themselves did not have a good example of what a healthy marriage looks like. And they instead chose to break that cycle of divorce. And now what am I going to do? I'm going to follow their footsteps, continuing to break that cycle of divorce, and also give our future children an even better example than I had. That is the ultimate goal.
There you go.
Getting married young also teaches you responsibility because you grow up a lot faster because you kind of have to. And I get so sick of the child bride comments. Like even Olivia Rodrigo, who's 23 years old, said she'd be a child bride if she got married right now. Which, like, number one is kind of a slap in the face to the actual.
Okay, stop. So you become an adult at 24? What? I thought it was 18. Are we pushing that back too now? So not only have we pushed the age of first marriage back to 7 years further into the future than we did in 1960, but now an 18-year-old is not an adult. Now it's a 24-year-old? Did she just draw a random number? I'm sorry, no offense to Olivia Rodrigo. I'm not trying to make you sound stupid. I'm sure you're a great person. I'm just expressing a different opinion on the internet here because I think that's ridiculous. Are you or are you not an adult at 23? That is very simple. How is that being a child bride? Like, we need to get back to some definitions here, okay? When do you become adult age-wise? It's 18. Is it not? Are we pushing that back further as a society or what? Like, what is enabling that claim to be made? I don't understand. How are you a child bride at 23 years old? I think that's the perfect time to get married. I think you should get married before then. I don't understand that.
Child brides, like the 9-year-old girls who literally have no choice other than to be a child bride. But it also just continues to infantilize adult women. Your 20s now are seen as an extension of your teenage years, as if you're still a kid in your 20s, which only gives us an excuse to act like children and never take responsibility.
Correct.
And if you live that way for your entire 20s, by the time you get into your 30s, you have no idea how to be an adult.
We are literally, we're growing up later in life than we did a long time ago because instead of taking on responsibility earlier in life, we're postponing responsibility further and further into our future and avoiding it as much as possible or indefinitely if we can. How is that creating adults? Let me tell you something. You want to be mature, get married. Marriage will mature you. Okay, marriage will mature you. Parenthood will mature you more unlike anything else that you can do in life. So if we're wanting to create more mature adults and less perpetual children, why are we not encouraging people to get married and instead encouraging them to live up their own individualistic pursuits and life dreams? Hello? Like, I mean, that's not a way to produce more mature people. That's a way to produce perpetual children, which is what we've been doing for the past several decades. Let's try something new. Encourage the guy next to you who's younger than you to get married instead of do whatever he wants with his life.
It's actually embarrassing how many adult children we have running around.
True.
And this propaganda campaign to infantilize you and tell you that in your 20s you're still a kid is on purpose. Because the people that are building things right now, the people that are upholding society, the wealthy business owners and high performers that you claim to hate, once they're gone, it's going to be us left to run society.
Correct.
And if we have a society full of adults who never grew up, we're going to starve and die. That's why it's a big deal. If we have no one getting married and having children, then our society is just going to end. If we tell women in their 20s that they are basically children, then they're not going to get married and have children in their most fertile years. So when you get married as a young adult, you take on responsibilities that you wouldn't as an individual,
Yes,
especially as a
correct.
man.
Yes, correct. So I agree with her 100% here. I do think she's being a little sensational with the "we're all going to die if we don't do this" claim, but I do agree with the sentiment there because getting married is what matures men. It is what produces mature adults rather than perpetual children. Okay, it is 100% what does that. Going and doing whatever you want, traveling, educating yourself, playing video games, going out to do your sports things, all that stuff. That does not mature you. Okay, it might mature you to an extent. It does not mature you to the extent that marriage and children do. Okay, there's no math there. And so I do think she's 100% right. If we want a future of capable adults, then we need to be encouraging the vast majority of them to get married rather than remain single and do whatever they want with their time.
My husband would be the better person to talk about this than me, but he is responsible for me. He's responsible for my safety and well-being, my protection, for taking care of me. And we both have the responsibility to be loyal to each other, to build an amazing foundation now so that our children will grow up in a home of love and structure, not chaos. And that looks like being financially responsible, planning where we're going to raise them, what our dynamic is going to look like then. It takes the focus off of just yourself and puts you in the mindset of, how can I serve my husband? What can I do to set us up for success? What can I cultivate now that my future children will appreciate? You are no longer focused on just you. You're now thinking about how you can build a legacy. And Noah and I have come a really long way in 2 years, and we're both really proud of what we've built so far. I'm 20, he's 23, and neither of us could have built what we've built now as quickly as we did without each other.
Boom. Let's talk about that. Neither of us could have built what we have now without each other because we have double the manpower. Teams are stronger than individuals. This is common sense. So why are we encouraging people not to get married and start families and encouraging them instead to remain single their entire life? They're not as strong when they're single. And if you think you're as strong as you could be just by being single instead of getting married, you're mistaken. Teams are stronger than individuals every single time. Sports people understand this. Sports people understand this. You cannot lift with one person what you can lift with 5. And you cannot lift with 5 people what you can lift with 10. Okay, this is math. All right. I really think we just need to be understanding what we're saying when we talk about, the benefits of getting married and being single. Like, young people need to have different kinds of voices because there's so many telling them not to get married and that, being single is an awesome thing. Okay. So maybe do that for the person in your life, guys. If I've persuaded you at all, or maybe you're one of those young people and you've been persuaded by this episode, reach out and let me know what your thoughts were through the YouTube comments. Would love to hear from you. You can also follow the Restoring Rapport podcast on social media, Instagram or Facebook. Let us know what you thought of the episode today, as well as what Savanna Stone said, yes, but also what my thoughts were as well. So thank you so much for listening today. God bless you guys, and I will talk to you all next time.